I used to go to the ballet a lot, and there was someone who was there every single night, and she invited me and some others to see this ballerina do her final Carmen. It was something that just blew me away. She had the whole crowd, thousands of people in the palm of her hand. She had men screaming and shouting and hollering at a ballet that's as we walked out of the theater, I asked a choreographer who was with us, was it in her hands? Like what was it technically that made it feel that way? And our friend who invited us stopped right there, looked at me and said, "Did you feel it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." She said, "That's all that matters. I'm not a choreographer. I'm not a ballet dancer. I was there to experience it and it worked." There was nothing in that artist's technique or bag of tricks that I could or anyone could just copy and paste. It was the big picture. It's just way much more than that. Going back to that bag of tricks, the most common question you'll see people ask on Instagram or Hows is, what's the paint color you used? As if copying that paint color is going to give you the same feeling that that space that design is giving you. It's not. Architecture works in a similar way to how that ballerina moved us. It's about presence, about emotion, about an atmosphere you can't always explain, but you can't forget it either. And I've felt that a few times, not often, but when it happens, it stays with you. I did a video about modern architecture, and in it there was a building at Yale, and I called it my third favorite building on campus. My number one favorite is completely uninstagrammable. The first time I ever felt a strong presence in architecture was Louis Kahn's Yale Center for British Art. It was completely uninstagrammable. I remember the steps I took and the feeling I had just walking in around all these paintings, bathed in natural light, yet somehow protected from the elements. That's a real technical explanation of it because maybe somehow I can't resist giving a technical explanation, but I'll put it in a different way. Louis Kahn, to me, do you ever see that old PBS mini series about jazz? In it, a lot of people talk about Louis Armstrong, and they all said the same thing. They called it this holy voice. They would describe his voice as holy, and in a similar way, I feel like what Khan was doing in so many of his projects was something that was holy, closer to God. It was just not human. It was on a different level, and it wasn't through some tortured geometry or gimmick. It was just on a higher plane, and you felt it. You always felt it. And that's what this video is all about, talking about feeling. Um and like I said, you can look at a picture of that building and be like, all right, whatever. But there was something about being there that just you could not replicate. Many years later, I had another moment, this time in Barcelona at the Sagrada Familia. Even though it was packed with tourists, I can't explain how this happened, but to say the building made me deaf. I couldn't hear anybody around me for, I think, the first hour that I was there. It was just like I was in a trance. And I realized that it had been that long because I remember the moment when it snapped and I could hear people around me. Now, most people, when they look at famous architecture, they're seeing a picture of architecture. That's how most people are going to experience it until you visit it. And what do we miss from that? Like that uninstagrammable building. Architects are trained to have reasons for everything, a backup of reasons and reasons and reasons for every decision that we make. That's how architecture school is. That's kind of how it feels in the business. That's good, but at the same time, there's something else that's important that can't always be put into words. There's things that you do sometimes and you don't always know the reason why until later. And so, yes, I was trying to dissect it, putting that part of my brain on it. The total flip side to that is something like, the David Lynch mentality where he makes Twin Peaks or another, one of his movies, and people would ask him all the time, "Why did you do this? What did this mean?" And he would just kind of smile and not give you anything. And it was this, wisdom of knowing you're going to interpret it your own way. Maybe your way of interpreting it, you'll get there. You'll get there or you won't get there. It was just his position on it. And I thought that that gives you more of a license to just enjoy it and take it in and not try to analyze or pick it apart, because there's something about the art when it's completely inside of you and not, oh, that's what he meant by it means something more to you. And isn't that cool? Architectural photography is like the representation of architecture. That's how we normally experience it. It kind of reminds me of, if you're watching a film on a phone, you haven't seen the film. If you see a picture of a building, you didn't really experience that building. I really wonder how many people, if they went to that Beinecke library, if their opinion would change having actually seen it. No one feels a concept statement. They feel a space, they feel awe, or they don't. The best definition that I've ever heard for architecture is it either moves the spirit or it doesn't. If it moves the spirit, it's architecture. If it doesn't, it's just building. What's a space that hit you unexpectedly? One that stopped you cold, even if you didn't know why? I'd love to hear about it.